People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, bro. Come on. You always just have to run back. I think like. Ah, well, people deluded, I'm back again. I'm here with Jess. It's a shame that we have to go through a lot of negatives, maybe some positives, depending on how she sees things. How you doing?
It could be better.
Turn your mic up. I don't think I can hear you still.
Can you hear me or no?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Okay.
I think I was just like a little bit too far. I mean, I could be better. I think I don't know why. I feel like we kind of knew we would go out yesterday, but I think the way that we went out wasn't the best.
Expand on that for those who don't know what you're referring to.
I feel like it was just they didn't look up for it. To me, I could be looking at it differently, and maybe you think differently, but they didn't seem up for it. You know, we saw what an up for it Arsenal team looked like maybe 3 days before. And so it's really difficult for me to believe that 3 days later, this is all that you could muster. I think it's just been a long kind of like maybe 7-8 days between the red card and then the City game and all the backlash after winning that game.
And for a young black boy celebrating.
Yep, for Miles Lewis-Skelly and everything. And then to turn around and have the Newcastle game, which the next time we lost a game, I knew that they would crash it on us. Like, it was so obvious, you know, but we are quite literally like the most hated team. And I think the worst part about being so hated is that we never really proved them wrong. And this
Don't
season,
prove ourselves wrong, man.
Yeah, I feel like this season it's going to be much of the same. You know, you have Trophyless again in your title. I have Trophyless again in my title. And it feels like we're staring at the inevitability of that. And the concerns have been there for a while. And it's just like, when is it going to be May 25th? You know, when is the season going to be done? Because this is, Arteta's had some, you know, under Arteta, we've had some bad seasons, but I feel like this one is up there. In the 5 years, this is probably one of the worst ones.
You reckon? Bearing in mind, we've had back-to-back eighths. We've had the fifth. I think we finished fifth when we lost, ironically, to Newcastle away in Spurs. You reckon this is up there? Is it because of the optimism going into this year after fighting for a title in the last two?
Not even the optimism. I just think it's like there was barely any expectation when we were finishing eighth. You know, I feel like when we were finishing eighth, we could always talk about the rebuild and we're buying these players and we're developing young talent and all this kind of stuff. We're well beyond that, and we're very much so in the win trophies now mode. And that's more disappointing to me than finishing eighth with a dead team. You know, we had a poor side.
It's the hope that kills.
Yeah, exactly. We're going through like rebuilding in a pandemic. You know, we were miles off of Liverpool and City, and now we're around them, but the trophies keep escaping us. And for me, so that brings this up to right up there with probably that season where we didn't make a Champions League, because that was a really bad season, I thought. And so, yeah, it's just, what do we do from here?
I wish I had the answers, man. Why don't you think the players are up to it? You alluded to it, but I want to expand on that.
I mean, I've said this on several shows. And the best way for me to, I guess, to describe it is, if there's an opportunity to draw the game, we're better. If it's a do or die, whether that's in the league and we need to win this game to do something, we usually don't get it over the line. Case in point, going away from home to Spurs, you know, when we're trying to win, get into the Champions League, and we put in one of the worst performances I've ever seen, then backed it up with another really poor performance against Newcastle away from home, finished fifth. You know, in the season that we were way ahead in the title race, all we had to do was just beat Liverpool away, We're 2-0 up, bottle that. West Ham 2-0 up, bottle that. It's like, even if it's the league or in a cup, do or die situation, it's more often than not we don't get it over the line. And so when the temperature is lower, I feel like our score much better. We showed two different faces. I know that Man City and Newcastle are in different spaces right now and how they're performing, but Arsenal's performances were much different. We didn't perform the same against Newcastle and City. We were a completely different side yesterday than we were when we were playing against a City side that was a little bit.
Does fatigue play a part?
Everyone.
Oh no, I'm asking you. And if it does play, if it doesn't, then fair enough. But if it doesn't for you, how far does that fatigue excuse come into it? If it does, better yet.
I mean, I know Arteta kind of said fatigue. We were tired, but I think that that's a very convenient thing to say when I expect you to be tired 3 days before that. If we want to, we'll perform. If we don't want to, we'll find any excuse. And I think we kind of found any excuse yesterday. That first goal went in and it was everything dropped, and we shouldn't feel like we're out of it 2 goals down. But I think most of us felt like we were, and I think the players did too. And I think that needs to be delved into, because I was talking to, and I was on Mo's show earlier today. And so, we're in mixed company. And, Liverpool fan Hussam, who's great, by the way.
Big him up.
Yeah, I was saying, I just don't understand why, you're kind of basically out of it. So you have nothing to lose. Why are you so tight? Why are you not relaxed? Why doesn't Arteta take more risks? Why doesn't he start Wanyeri instead of starting safe? Why don't we throw more men forward? Why did we look so, we were so nervous? And I'm just like, we're just a very mentally fragile team, I think. I just feel like we shouldn't have felt like we were out. When have we ever turned a tie around? I don't think I've ever seen us turn a tie around. I think pretty much if we go down,
you really have to sit down and think about it, really. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, that shouldn't be the case for us. We should feel like we can go there, get an early goal. Even if we don't get the early goal, it really does not, I do feel like we're getting into this thing now where if we don't score that one chance that we have, then it's almost like okay that we give up the goal on the other end. It's not. Why are we making these excuses like, oh, well, we missed that one chance? You're going to miss chances, but you should feel like you're going to get more of them, which we never feel that way. And then we also feel like it's okay to concede a minute or two after. You know what I mean? So just the differences in the way that the fan bases think. Liverpool side, 1-0 down, or 2-0 down. Probably would have.
I think there's even a divide in the fan base, man, because let's be brutally honest here. There's a section of our fan base that are just happy to be part of this, that accept everything. It's all cuddly, it's all nice, and I get it was back-to-back eighth, but football is ugly. And kind of what you said, for me, it's unacceptable to not turn up at St. James's Park. That is one of the games you think of, whatever team you support. That's, you need to turn up. A lot of these players have been there before. As you've alluded to, we're basically out of the competition anyways. You would have thought Newcastle were 2 goals down. We were second best all over the park. And not that I would forgive it, but if you pre-game didn't get yourself in a certain element of a headspace, when VAR has disallowed that first Isak goal, which was the best defending on the night from us, everyone should have woken up. Now, I know Raya's made a mistake. Saliba looked shaky. Gabriel, Lewis Skelly and Timber were nothing to scream and shout about. The whole team, really. But 9 times out of 10, our defenders have bailed us out. It never feels like if our defenders are poor, our attackers are gonna do stuff. And for me, isolated to the fact that it's obviously a League Cup game, the semi-finals, a good chance of silverware, which is probably our biggest chance missed. As you said, we both said trophyless. It's a case of we play the same way regardless. We're talking about the same things. People fail to understand, and it's more these field tilt guys and XG and all of this. You can have all of that. Football is a very simple game. You need to keep balls at the back of your net. You need to put balls in the back of your opponents, and we struggle to do that. So I think we get caught up on this possession thing, these shots, these touches. And even when you break it down, just maybe I'm a bit different. What really did we create yesterday? Because I feel like I'm saying the same things. I know Odegaard should have bagged, but come on. We're not doing
But
anything.
that's why we focus on the one chance that we miss, because we are so fragile. We miss one chance, we concede, and we create nothing else. When we played against Newcastle earlier on this season away from home, they scored in the 11th minute. We didn't create anything after that. Nothing. We don't create enough chances. We don't have enough threat. We don't have players that scare the life out of the opposition. And I just feel like there's a lot of fragility in terms of we lack talent, but we also lack mentality. Mentality, I feel like, is almost a bigger issue than the talent, because when you don't have the mentality, the talent that we do have does not shine. There's very few games that we can look at and say our man of the match was an attacker. Our man of the match is usually a defender or, a midfielder. It's rarely ever an attacker. And so we're not seeing the best out of Trossard on a consistent basis. We're not seeing the best out of Odegaard at all this season.
They're all stinking up the place, man. Bar Ethan and Saka when they're there, they're all stinking up the place.
It's ridiculous. Like, it really is. And yesterday was I'm not surprised that we went out, and I'm also not surprised that we laid down, but I feel like I should be surprised. Like, I should not expect these performances, but I'm telling you, whenever something is on the line under this manager in particular, obviously there's historical issues. Like, we haven't been a very good, do or die team, but under this manager in particular, when the chips are down and we need to rise, it's very rare that we rise.
He doesn't change the way he plays. Like, for me, I mean, Eddie Howe's got something over him. The records suggest that. A team reflects the manager. And Arteta, again, it's a case of he's obviously thought of what he wants to do against Newcastle. But when it's evident that something needs to change, he just dies on his sword, really. You're bringing on man 15 minutes before the end of the game. I know Ethan came on, but he's not doing that unless there's Martinelli's injured, which we'll have to get on. That's another issue in itself. And that's my thing. Arteta, you're a good coach. You're good at the coaching stuff. But getting over the line is an issue. And I think you're bang on the money. I do think the mentality of these players have improved, but it's not that of champions. Like, in terms of the rebuild, not knocking on the door and being part of the top four, they've got that. If you want to get over the line, I don't think the squad depth is there, the quality is there, the consistency is there. And I don't know how you feel on this. I don't know how anyone in the chat feels on this, but it feels like I'm watching the same game week in, week out. Two, none of these issues are anything new. I know we can get 90 odd goals, we can score from corners, but at the end of the season, guys, the majority of these attackers will have decent goal scoring seasons. But when it's push comes to shove, it is really only Bukayo Saka. Really and truly, that's going to do the business. I'm watching the same thing on repeat. Like, it would be romantic Kai Havertz being the striker, and he's pulled his weight a lot more than these attackers. But you've had two windows that you failed to take advantage of. I think it's a thing where Arteta's got to hold that. I feel great sympathy, ironically, for the players and obviously fans. But Mikel Arteta, the Cronkies, whoever is in charge on the technical front, I'm not really here with the he say, she say. You lot all in charge. You tell us about collaboration. And for me, too many chefs are spoiling the dish. We've got no sporting director. You found 40 million to bid for Watkins, whether it's true or not. You could have found a project player. If we was a prime Barcelona and them size, Jess, I would hear it. But no one can tell me, in a day and age where, as talented as Ethan is, he, excluding Saka, is the one young player young attacker that we've got faith in. You can defo improve. It's excuses. And for me, people fall for this PR bullshit, if I'm honest, far too often. Yeah,
there's a lot. There's the technical side of things of Mikel and why he quite literally cannot break down a mid block or a low block. This has been a problem for multiple seasons. So anytime we see one, we struggle. You also have teams or managers in particular that always get the better of you. You'd think you'd be able to figure that out by now. Eddie Howe is one of them. Unai is also one of them, where we always struggle with those teams. And it's like,
I think his is personal to Arsenal. Big up Emre, man.
Yeah, it's like, so there's that part, and then there's the board. And the board is very risk adverse. They're not football people. They are money men. And they only, if Aston Villa gives you an opportunity to sign Ollie Watkins and they say at 60 million and you come back with 40, and now they're doing up, well, if we had done 60, that would hit the budget for the summer because now we can't sell Gabriel Jesus and all this. And I'm just like, when are we going to make decisions based on what needs to go on the pitch and not the bottom line number. Everything is about the bottom line number. And I know that we have to be sustainable, but Arsenal is spoken about mostly as a business, not as a team that's going to win anything. And until they get into more talent equals more trophies and stop thinking that they can rob Peter to pay Tom or whatever, and just kind of like barely make it. Because that's essentially what happens is if they can find a academy player that they can pin all their hopes on, they won't, support that young player with more talent. They will bank everything on that young player. And that's what we did with Saka. And that's probably what we'll end up doing with Wanyeri. Because they're like, well, this keeps us from having to buy. This should never keep you from having to buy. City have young players coming through all the time. Other teams have young players coming through. That does not stop them from recruiting more talent. But it does stop us from recruiting talent. And it's just, I'm not like the attack that I'm looking at right now is the alarm bells are insane. Arsenal have never had an attack this bad, ever in my life. Have never had an attack this bad that lacks quality, dynamism, moments, technical quality, clinical finishing, creativity, everything. It lacks absolutely everything.
And the square pegs in round holes, just man.
Yeah, and we went 18 months without doing anything about it.
The striker is nothing new. It not all the issues that we face and we're talking about on this live stream and today, they were there last season. They were there in the summer, which is why I was pessimistic on trophies. I would think we'd have to just stumble across it. I don't think those above Mikel Arteta really want to win silverware. I do think Arteta wants new signings and wants to win trophies. It's more how you're going about it. But when I see what we've done, I'm being told in many ways, especially with January, for me, it's just top 4. If you can do something above that, for me, the remit is top 4. Anything beyond that is great, is all fun and games. I want to get your opinion on this comment. Big up yourself, Jay. He said, stinking up the place, but if Saka's fit changes the whole narrative. What do you think of that? Because for me, obviously, if Saka is there, we feel a lot better. But there's been times we've pulled off results without Bukayo, and there's been times where maybe not to that standard, but we felt this similar way with Saka. I mean, that is football, in my opinion. Players are going to be missing. We haven't put our best foot forward across all aspects of this team. But where are you at with that?
I'm pretty sure we lost the game away from home to Newcastle last season with Saka on the pitch. I'm pretty sure we've lost games against Aston Villa with Saka on the pitch. Saka's not enough. We had questions about the attack when Saka was there. Because here's the reality is Saka, for me, is a creative player. He's pushing himself to become the guy. But realistically, I think most of us deep down, if we had the option of making Saka the guy or buying somebody that's already that person and putting them together with Saka, we would do that because he is a creator that is also being forced to score more goals because no one else does.
You reckon Saka's a creator?
Yeah, I think Saka's more creative. I don't think he's a natural goal scorer. Never have.
It's a bit harsh in the last few years of Bukayo, but I hear that.
But I feel like what people will hear is that he's not a good goal scorer. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying a natural goal scorer. He has built himself and developed that thing. Like he's developed those goal scoring tendencies, but
fair.
Realistically, I don't think he's somebody that you'd want to be like, this is going to be my Salah.
He's 23. We shouldn't be doing that, really. Yeah. And it's like what you said earlier. It's a case of marrying people, marrying the quality. Obviously, Salah is Salah, and he's made the difference for Liverpool. But it's not just Salah. You've historically had a Firmino, you've had Mane, you've had other players who have chipped in, and it goes back to what you're saying about us pinning our hopes. Where are you at with this? We got to let the owners be owners. They got to where they are, being who they are. They can't change for Arsenal. Let's see the season out and go game by game. 2025-26 is going to be mad. Really, I just want to get your thoughts on that last bit, because it does feel like it's always next season we're building something.
Honestly, Jalen, I hear you. I think that this is right out of the Kroenke Arsenal playbook of Kool-Aid. It really is. Next season, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. The briefs are already coming out about war chests and stuff like that. Owners,
bearing in mind, they said this year is the year and the gloves are off for everyone connected to the club. But
yeah, the owners are the owners, whatever. I get the idea that they're smarter than us and they understand more. But as fans, I think when we're not winning trophies, you can pretty much say that they're failing. That's as simple as it is. We're not winning, they're failing. Whether we know the nuts and bolts of what's happening. So yeah, they're failing right now. I don't know what to tell you.
It clearly is failure. And what annoys me is, yeah, I don't know about anyone else's fault, but because I'm not happy with us necessarily winning trophies, with it looking like a missed opportunity, I personally think we engineer our own downfalls and we're the master of our own fate as to why we're here. Three times I've heard Mikel Arteta in June, in January, and December say we've got one of the smallest squads. And he's played a part in that. In the build up to the City game, he said we came into this season competing for 4 trophies with 19 players and 3 or 4 long-term injuries. You add in the fact that in the last 2 years, the Sakas, the Rices, those that play for club and country in the majority of games are playing 50, 60, maybe even 70 games a season. We set ourselves up for failure. And even when you look at the summer, I genuinely feel you could argue that if we won the league last year, maybe Nico Williams says, forget Bilbao and Barca, I'll sign for Arsenal. Sesko might say, do you know what? I hear you're saying Kai Havertz is first choice. I will join us. But I genuinely feel if they won the league last year, I think we have the exact same summer. Respectfully to all those summer signings, especially Calafiori, because I like him, none of you, even with our squad barely fit, are pushing anyone or really bringing anything. So it's like you look at the summer, if nothing changes, nothing changes. Like, and I think the club is gaslighting a lot of us, really and truly.
Yeah, they are. They know what to say right after. They know that there's a large section of the fan base that live and die by what these talking heads say. And as long as they're saying something positive, they're okay. And they'll always be next season and all this. And to a certain extent, there is always next season. And there's always an opportunity to change, but we know the manager's not going to change, and we know the board's not going to change, and we know the owners aren't going to change. And I think that's where the dark cloud starts to come in. It's like, yeah, things could change, but will they?
I mean, if nothing changes, nothing changes. We'll get into all the transfer news, but if I see a striker, if I see a left winger, if I see a long-term partner for Declan Rice, if I see more depth added, or maybe naturally Martinelli, Trossard, and Kai Havertz become squad players, that doesn't mean you don't get football. I might look at things differently. I do think Arteta has to soldier some blame. It's not just a Kroenkes thing. Kroenkes are not the reason that we didn't win the league. I know I don't like how they manage the club, own the club. I want them to be a bit more proactive, but I'm not against this self-sustaining model and all of their principles. It's more like what you said, there's a lack of football in men. And to be fair, just the Kroenkes could sit there and say, since we've taken in 2018, we spent a lot more money. We backed this manager when we gave him the job. We gave him a new contract. We give him goalkeeper and left back galore. It's not our fault he chose to sign Moreno. It's not our fault he put significant funds on Calafiori, just being devil's advocate. And that's why I think it's a mixture of things. I really think in hindsight, too many chefs in the kitchen spoiled the pot. And whatever people say about us looking for these special players and this and that and the third, if you rock up with Raheem Sterling on deadline day, you've done something wrong. And what I would ask this club, especially because Arteta says maximize the markets, if you genuinely could look fans in the eyes in January that's just gone and in the summer and say we did all we can, fair enough. I think that's a lie, or it's incompetence, negligence, stupidity, or everything. How much of this is to blame with Arteta, though? Because purely from a sporting front, he's been given a lot. It's a team in his image. Eddie Howe's been to more finals than him. Arne Slot is going to win some sort of silverware or multiple pieces of silverware. It's another missed opportunity, because I do think Arsenal fans, you can't praise Mikel Arteta or hold him to high standards and then ask questions. We mentioned Saka. Saka's obviously a good player. If he has a good game, we're going to sing it to the rooftops. If he plays shit, we're going to ask questions. I don't think that's afforded to the manager. But where are you at?
I think with Mikel, like, he's a good coach, but not a great manager, and not an elite coach either. I think he's built a squad that's very, because he's built the squad. Let's be honest. Like, a lot
Rightly
of
or wrongly, he has.
are his players. These are his decisions. Whatever. So I think he's built a squad in his image. Where everything is the fine margins and trying to be innovative. And doing a lot with a little kind of thing. Because that's kind of like his vibe, but he's not at the point where he's desperate to get something in the door that's gonna push us over the line. It's just
because he's not judged by silverware, like specifically the Prem and the Champs. He's clearly not judged by that.
Yeah, this team is very much so Mikel Arteta. Good, but not great, good, but not elite, not winners, very much so, coached well, but doesn't have like one of the things that really scares me about this team is that they can't get emotionally invested in games that matter. With any game that really, really matters, they always fall short on the emotional side. The goals that you score, the moments where you keep that clean sheet and those, they don't have that. And Arteta's pretty much like that too. He's kind of icy. He's somebody that he has emotions, but at the wrong moments. He's kind of here and there. It's weird, but Mikel has to look at himself for, bringing in players that don't make us better and pushing for them,
Like who?
and like Kai, he pushed for Kai, and he also pushed for Nketiah to get the new deal. And, I'm sorry, there's just, when it comes to the
Have
attack.
we even replaced Eddie Nketiah?
Yeah.
And we ain't replaced the Bamian, Granit Xhaka, even Lacazette, but have we replaced the Eddie Nketiah? Because we had 2 strikers and we're 3 with Kai. We haven't done that.
I'm not sure that Mikel knows how to build a consistent and effective attack. I think his thing is all control and the temperature being very low and us just like going about our business and stuff like that. But I think in attack, things are a lot more chaotic. Attack that's good is usually chaotic. It's usually very unpredictable. And even if it is predictable, you can't stop it. He hasn't really gotten a grasp on that. And that's pretty shocking, being here for 5 years and you haven't figured it out. And he brings in, like a Kai or, whatever. And I know people say like he didn't get his first choices, but he has quite a few of his first choices. Let's be honest.
The majority of them are his first choices. Fair enough, you didn't get Raya when you initially done it, but you got Ramsdale, then you got Raya. You got some bloody good players, man. And there's no real life in our attack on a consistent basis. There's no healthy randomness. Again, to be fair with you, I disagree with a slight point about the mentality, but then I agree. And what I mean by that is I think it's an exception rather than the rule. Like how we performed against City, how we perform in the top 6, obviously with the whole Haaland stuff, like how you see Newcastle. I know they got battered against Bournemouth, but you expect that. Liverpool, under Klopp, they revitalized it. But before that, there weren't really anything to scream and shout about. Liverpool's still been known for being difficult, for being mentality monsters. And again, I'm only saying this because if you want to be a top 4 team, that's cool. If you want to get to the next level, it's minimum. Like you saw with City, we saw the good and the bad. Like we was up for it. We took our punches when we had to. We scored the goals. We reacted to setbacks. Yes, I think there's an element of fatigue, but there's no excuse for the Newcastle game, which is why I feel on and off the field, we are our own best friends or worst enemies. What do you think about this? Never be scared to fail. City did it for years. Football ebbs and flows. We're on a nice upward trajectory that I'm looking forward to. We're next up and other clubs know it, hence the hate.
I mean, I think this was, if you had told me this the day after we lost the league the first year, I would say you're right. But we are 2 years on from that now. We were on an upward trajectory then. We have stagnated now. And you can say best in 2024 and but in terms of, do you feel like we're infinitely better than we were in 2022, 2023? No, you don't. We feel different, but not better. There's no clear, like anything, that says that we're better. And so that was true 2 years ago. And people are still using these same narratives to, I think, move the spotlight away from the manager and the mistakes that have been made by the club in general. We have stagnated.
Opium, man.
Yeah. And in football, everything is a season. Teams have moments and like a couple of years where they need to strike while the iron is hot, because then in the next couple of years, other people will be there. Your team will change, blah, blah, blah. And I'm scared that the sunrise is setting kind of like on that, because at some point people are going to want to leave. Other teams are going to be better and they're closing the gap on us already. So 2 years ago, that was cute. Now you genuinely cannot feel that way watching us. I just don't. And in regards to the whole, like being up for the City game. So we know that we have Arsenal are really good in the games. They can win all the games except for the games that matter. we win a lot of games except for the games that don't matter. The games that matter, we skip those. And that's why we're a good team, but we're not a great team. You know, we're not elite.
What did you just say there? Can you repeat it, please? Because that is something I keep talking about. She said, in fact, I'll do it. We're a good team. We're not a great team. Just because I have criticisms of Arteta doesn't mean I can't praise the man and obviously my team. I don't really quite frankly care about what we're good at because that's not what's crippling us. Take the good and make it great. Take the shit and make it good. Like, we are losing too many games on fine margins. For a team that waffles week in, week out about fine margins, we're never on the right side of it. The last time we was is probably Villa away where we weren't quite at it. We nicked it. We got away. But there's always context. There's never context around when it matters. Winners win, losers explain. Now, I know for some Arsenal fans, they'll do this. Oh, you only want to support Arsenal when they win trophies. Since I started this YouTube journey to now, have we been illustriously glistening with trophies? No, we haven't. But this is where, again, there needs to be balance. We've got a good team. We are second. Our form is not that bad for all of the rhetoric, but we're not getting over the line. If we have years like this, when are things going to change? And also, like, if we're here next year with Mikel Arteta, what do you ask yourself, Jess? What needs to happen for you?
I just feel like we need a change, like, somewhere. You know, I really do believe, like, sometimes you need to shake things up. And I'm not 100% sure that that's just the manager. I just know that that's the easiest thing to change. You can't change the ownership. You can't change. You're not going to be able to get rid of all the players, which I would never really want to do anyway. So the manager would need to go. And I think there's enough evidence there on Mikel that he doesn't have his hands tied as behind his back. And he's not just like some defenseless lamb. He's definitely culpable. And he's somebody that I feel like has gone backwards himself. The team has gone backwards because he is no longer brave. He's not somebody that wants to play good football. He's not somebody that wants to be expansive and score a lot of goals. He is trying to prevent the team from losing. And we go into so many games, especially big games where you need to be brave. Like Newcastle came to the M's with they had no, like,
Wait, did you say ends?
The M's, yes.
I was thinking raw. Did I hear that right? Go on. That threw me off. I'd say raw.
Yeah. See, you hate me. You hate me. The Emirates.
no. I was thinking raw. Like, wait, ends. Like, fair enough. Now go on. No,
not the ends. The M's.
That's what I'm asking. I was thinking, is it M's or ends?
Yeah, no.
I was confused. I had some slang there.
So no, they came to our place and they didn't look like they were trying not to lose. They took it to us. They were brave.
Fearlessness.
Yeah, fearlessness. And we are not fearless. Everybody is operating from a place of fear. And the only time that we look fearless is when we're playing against Dead City. Because I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. We won 2 games against 2 teams that were in a really bad period, Spurs and Man City. And then we followed those 2 games up, losing important cup competitions, cup ties right after those games, Man United and Newcastle. 2 teams that still aren't at the peak of their powers, but all they had to do
Our mentality is improved, but we ain't got the dog in us, man.
Yeah, they'd had to just show up just this much. You know, Man City and Spurs were dead like within an inch of their life. But if you just have a little fight in you, we will let you come to our spot and take points. We don't have it. And if you've ever seen a really good Arsenal side, the lack of characters that we have is so obvious. And I think Martin Keown spoke about it. I'm pretty sure Sol Campbell spoke about it as well. We don't have enough characters. Newcastle don't have a better team than we do, but they have players that consistently show up in big games and have big.
Oh, I don't know, man. Two of their front 3 walk into our team, and the current football, the front 3, at least 2 of their midfielders probably start for us.
No, I don't think that they're.
Tonali starts for us. Gamara starts for us. Murphy right now starts for us. Surely Gordon starts for us. We both know Isak starts for us. Who else is there? No, the defense. Our defense is cool. Currently, Murphy starts for us.
But see, we're not talking about current form.
No, I'm forcing Murphy in there, but the rest are 100% on the better days.
10 games ago, you wouldn't be saying this. At the beginning of the season, we actually had
this. Saka got injured, brother. There's no one on that right hand side. I think Murphy plays still. I can't lie to you.
That's totally recency bias. When we started the season, it's recency bias because if you would have started the season, actually, let's go back.
Saka got injured at the start though.
Let's go back. Let's go back to when we pulled Newcastle.
Smash the like button, folks.
Almost everybody said tough tie, but we're at home. We should get it done. Almost everyone. The only time that it changed was when, obviously, we didn't do it. Nobody felt like Newcastle was better than us. Even I just went on Mo's show. Almost everybody said Newcastle are not better than us. They have 2 players, in my opinion, that no matter good form, bad form, get into our team. And that's Gordon and Isak. You guys were the ones that were saying that Partey was one of the best. So
Partey's been one of our better players this season. Yesterday he was shit.
Yeah, but that was yesterday. Against City, he was the best player in the world. Nobody was saying Bruno.
I don't know. I don't know who said that. I just know he played well.
What I would say, I'm not switching.
No. What I would say is, obviously, like, I don't know about anyone else, but the Newcastle game, I can't speak for anyone but myself. Newcastle is a team I'm always going to fear because of the whole St. James's stuff, because I think Eddie Howe's a good manager, and because that I just think they want it a bit more. I think their fans demand that. I said, and I can't, that's where I somewhat agree. At the Emirates, I said we have to, my language was slightly different. We have to kill the game. Like, I genuinely felt we had to kill the game. And as a minimum, we needed to go into that game at a 2-1 lead. Murphy therefore starts for us though. Like, with no Saka, Murphy though. Obviously, big up Ethan, but Ethan ain't exactly started. And to be fair, I wanted Ethan to start yesterday, but I understand the rhetoric. You know what? You lot played your socks off. Everyone deserves to start against City. In hindsight, we did look a bit tired. Murphy 100% starts for us, man. And then you've got Eddie Howe, which has his number, Arteta's number.
Newcastle are not a better team than us.
Maybe not quality pound for pound, but they got the dog in them, man. You saw their manager change their system. And I want to just mention something, yeah, with that back 5 that they played. That's a classic example of a back 5 doesn't have to be defensive. For me, as unbiased, nobody can tell me Newcastle were defensive yesterday. They were way more proactive than us. Our high line was exposed. They were attacking a lot better. We're kind of lucky Saliba, you know how social media gets just that Saliba wasn't the one who made the Raya mistake. Yeah, I just think they did it. And even you made
let me ask you a question. So based on what you're saying right now, you're saying right now, this moment, the way that they played against us, the fact that some of their players get into our team right now, especially with injuries, are we better than City?
Of course, we're better than City at the moment. But listen, I'm having a lot of their players. My point is just, I just feel anyone.
So anybody that beats anybody and has a better game plan.
No, I don't know. I don't know about that. I just think anybody that has shown. I've said this before. I think anyone that's got a half decent setup, that's willing to have that dog in them, that's willing to take punches, that's got a half competent manager, I genuinely think they trouble us. Emery, good manager, trouble us.
And that's
Eddie Howe the same.
And that's the point. It's anyone. It's not because Newcastle are this great and wonderful team. They are good.
Murphy can be to answer this. Murphy can be a scrub. I'm not overrated Murphy. I said in the game at the Emirates, I do think he slept on just because I watch a lot of Newcastle. Where I'm also disappointed is we probably indirectly played Newcastle at the best time, I feel, from their perspective, because I did big up Kendall. I did a preview of her. I told her not to be nervous, but she was. They've had a bit of booky results. Obviously, we won 5-1 as well. But you're right, man. And that's where I feel about Mikel Arteta. I get it. When you've been at a team for a while, you're going to have a certain brand of football and do things. My thing is change things. And I'm at the point now, I'm not saying play free at the back, but I need to see something a bit different. Anytime for me, I think Arteta in this current scope does something different. It's not genuinely because you want to. It's you kind of have to. You're playing Lewis Skelly because he's doing his thing. Ethan's come into it because we ain't got nobody else. You're changing things because you have to. And it is quite predictable. And I feel individually, a lot of players got a man up, man. Like, I'm sure you'll agree with me. Against City, we thought Odegaard, yeah, you're back now. He's reverted back to type. Obviously, Declan Rice and Partey, they weren't quite at it. Our defenders have been getting us out of jail, but they do make mistakes. And even that, the traps they set up as well led to that error. It's unacceptable, man. It's unacceptable. And that's the point of the live stream I think you've made, in that when it's crunch time, I do think the mentality is improved, but it's still not there. Like, even our captain, like, I don't know if you listen to like the post-game comments. Odegaard was saying we're still a young team. I hear that, but you're young enough to learn kind of think certain things. Do you think we need more experienced players? I know we've spoken about this before.
We don't need more experienced players because we just bought in Marino.
I have to ask.
Doing shit. You know, so, and I like Marino, but he doesn't even start. You know, we have experienced players, but they don't step up, you know, so we need more talent and we need more moments and players that are not afraid to do the big things in the big moments. That's all we need. You know, I don't even think it needs to be necessarily like Isak, because we're not going to get Isak. Everybody is so hyper focused on Isak. Guys,
why don't you think we can get him? Imagine Newcastle don't get Champions League football.
We're not gonna get him. We're not gonna get him.
But why?
because off the pitch, we also have problems between us and Newcastle that I feel like people always forget. Arsenal are leading the charge against the teams like City and Chelsea and Newcastle that
But
want to
surely
bet.
business is business, and that other
No,
stuff is other stuff.
no. Do you not find it weird that every single time we play them, we're their cup final? Every time, ever since they've been taken over, like they will never sell to us. If they do sell, they'll sell to someone else. They will not sell to us, and they will not give us favorable terms, which unfortunately, because we have too many lawyers and not enough football people, that first 80 million pound bid that we put into for Isak is going to be so embarrassing because
I think it's because of the whole time wait. I think that all kind of kicked off a few years ago when we accused them of time wasting. But surely business is business. Because I don't know if Chelsea necessarily like Arsenal. They're still making things happen. Obviously, we're buying trash. If I'm just purely being devil's advocate here,
best player to us, but we're definitely going to, struggle this summer to bring in the players that we need. And I don't
is that an
understand.
excuse though? Not saying you're making that excuse. Is that an excuse? Because
No, because
we've not maximized the last two windows, and I'm not even going to ask you. Clearly, every Arsenal fan could see you needed to bring in something in January, and we're paying for those sins.
yeah, they don't have any excuses because they always talk about they're working 2 years ahead. They always have their targets. Their biggest problem is that they get hung up on one or two, and then if they don't get them, they don't get anything. And we can't afford that. We've gone backwards to the point where we're just not at the point where we can just get one player. We need like 5 players because you guys have neglected the squad so much, and you're not going to get that.
What are you talking to the starting 11?
No, just in the squad in general.
I think we need a lot more than 5 slightly.
You need a backup goalkeeper. You need another defender.
2.
You need 2 midfielders.
Oh, Jess, did you mention we need another defender?
Yeah, we do need another defender. But would I skip it? Absolutely, to make sure that we get those 2.
You got onto me for saying we need another defender.
But I feel like we both agree that we need a defender. But my feeling is like I would sacrifice that to make sure that we get the attacker because if we get a defender, that means one less person up front. We're not getting 5 players.
Is that acceptable?
No, we shouldn't be in a position where we can't get the players that we need, but that's always the position that we're in. There's always something else. They held talks with the goalkeeper again, and I get it because there's Arsenal fans that are like, I can't believe you guys didn't want him because he's the best goalkeeper in La Liga. I know that. I've done several videos on Juan Garcia. I know how good he is.
Are we even that?
That's
Yeah,
the problem. Like
maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm naive with the Garcia stuff. Yeah, but it looks like a lad that's finally making inroads into Espanol. Right? He's at 20, 21, something like that. He's playing games. They talk about, you could be a Spanish international. You're an Olympic champion. Even if we spend 20, 30 million on him, and you never know, with Arteta's track record, he could eventually eclipse Rayo. Am I naive for thinking that, not that it's a short-term fix, but how long is he going to want to be backup goalie, really?
I don't know. And I just foresee us going right back into, we need 2 goalkeepers that are fighting. I think they are obsessed with the idea of having 2 number ones and doing that. And this is my thing with Arsenal is they want to have dueling number ones, goalkeepers. They want to be innovative with set pieces. They want to be obsessed with the left back inverting and stuff like that. But there's never an emphasis or a prioritization on just getting good players up the pitch. You know what I mean? Like they prioritize things that you would prioritize after you've already finished the main part of your rebuild.
It's like we eat our dessert first and then dinner.
Exactly. So now set pieces are kind of like our only way of scoring, where it should be like an additional thing, like you said, like dessert. It should be additional. We don't have dinner and we don't even have appetizer, but we eating fucking dessert. We're eating ice cream and shit. I don't want to hear about doing
and that spoils your belly, like our season.
Yeah, I don't care about Juan Garcia being amazing. That's fine. I don't care. But I don't want to spend the summer window chasing down this number 2 goalkeeper with the 40 million that we have and then needing to sell before we even look at the attack. And which is what's going to happen. You're not getting Nico Williams, bro. Let it go.
So if we're not even that, because we'll get into it, but we keep hearing this talk. Sesko, it's fair, like whether we get them or not, Zubamendi, Sesko, small hope for Isak, players of that Nico Williams. If we don't, obviously I'm not naive, we're not going to get all of them, but if we don't get them and we sit there in the summer and say we tried, we couldn't get our first choice targets. How acceptable is that? Because for me, it's about pivoting now.
It's unacceptable, but it's unacceptable, but it's kind of how they operate because they're so rigid. They don't have 4 or 5 options and go down the list. They have one, and when that doesn't work out, they're like, oh shit. Yeah, oh shit. You should never get into a position where it's Nico Williams or Raheem Sterling. If that's what you've done, yeah, because first of all, Nico Williams is unattainable to us.
Gordon doesn't fit our style of play. I'm sorry, but to interrupt you, but that's absolute nonsense. Like, what are we talking about? Anthony Gordon. Fair enough.
Yeah. It's just strange. All of it is just strange. Like, they have these unattainable targets. Like, you guys know you're not going to pay Nico Williams 300,000 pounds a week. We already know that. You've known that for 2 windows now. So why are we still chasing him? Just go get someone else. Go get us somebody. We need so much in that attack. It's ridiculous. But like you already said, we still need a defender. We still need this. It's just like Zubamendi's going to take up, what, 60 million?
Right, assuming he's going to sign. What do you make of this comment? Liverpool play football like it used to be played. Arne Slot has a system, but utilizes player strengths. He gives them the freedom to use their individual quality. Arteta is all about the system. I think that's a good comment by Jordan. How far does the system go? This system thing that Arteta is deploying.
Well, I think the better coaches in the league and the ones that are getting the most out of their teams are playing. They've ditched the whole trying to copy Pep. Everybody has kind of ditched it. And these new coaches like Areola and Arne Slot, these guys are just playing football. Nuno, you watch their teams play. Obviously, they have a structure. Obviously, they have a system. But their attackers are allowed to express themselves. And they're just a little bit more simplified. You don't see all the inverting and it's all about the left back coming into midfield.
To be fair, Hall was doing that. But for me, it's just about changing the shit. Like, when it needs to change in the game, just change it and crank up the pressure. It's like lukewarm water. Like, for me anyway.
If you can only play from your patterns. We can only play from our patterns of play. Everything is orchestrated.
Like this comment suggests.
Yeah, we're way too rigid. And so when you go up against, and for some reason he hasn't found a way to break down a mid block, and you should have at least a pattern for that shit, but you don't. And so, yeah, I think football is moving away from Pep style, and everything goes in cycles, and we will get left behind if we're so desperate to replicate a style that we never had enough talent to perfect anyway. I feel like when you don't have as much talent, you do need to lean into the strengths of the players that you have. And we just don't do that. We don't lean into the strengths of Martinelli. We don't lean into the strengths of, Partey sometimes, or, because we leave him on an island just by himself and like he's just out there for dead because Declan Rice is up in the attack somewhere, just nowhere to be found. That doesn't really suit his strengths. You got a bunch of
there's not that healthy randomness. Like, I genuinely think there was a degree of that with how Newcastle have attacked across the 2 games. Like, they're just good. Maybe I'm simplistic, but good players can link up with good players. Like, and what annoyed me with the Newcastle game is I've seen at least 2 goals which have come from a simple long ball, man. But that's for another. We were just outclassed in all aspects, man, and it's predictable.
We don't and our attackers don't have like, it's for some of them it's been coached out of them. Because I feel like Martinelli, to a certain extent, is a player that's quite limited. But when you utilize his strengths, he's really dangerous. And we've seen that. Martinelli has never been this all-inclusive, can do everything attacker. He's never been that. But he's always been like very direct, open to doing the shots, a good goal scorer. We don't play to his strengths. We don't get him through the middle. We don't do shit. We don't play it over the top for him to run. So, and Newcastle just play a simple game with 2 really good attackers, and they just say run and make it shake. We can't do that because every time Havertz gets the ball, he turns back, takes a really terrible donkey touch, and then passes it back to someone, and then we reset.
I feel sorry for Havertz, man. Like, honestly, like, yeah, I can criticize the player's performance, but we took what was initially a short-term option in Kai Havertz up front, making it a long-term solution. I can criticize you're not a professional footballer, but statistically, you've pulled your weight a lot more than your attacking colleagues. The very fact that we're living or dying by you scoring goals and you're 12th in the Premier League for goals, you're not assembling the squad like that. Goals win games. We've known evidently we needed a striker. They tried to get Sesko last summer. I'm not naive to think you woke up in the summer like, let's sign a striker. You've known that for a period. This is where we're doing, it's like we're half stepping. We're half trying to move like we want to win leagues, and then we're going away from it. In relation to disagreeing with a defender, I promise you lot will be wrong in that. I promise you we need a defender. It might not necessarily be a priority, but there's been times where we've played 3 games in 10 days where you can't rest Saliba or Gabriel. Bearing in mind, we've seen them both missing. We have to praise the Lord that Lewis Kelly's emerged. Calafiori's had injury issues. Benjamin White's had that surgery, which is probably 2-3 years too late. We defo need a defender. Preferably someone of the Timber Tomiyasu kind of ilk for me that can rotate around. But beyond that, January's a missed opportunity, man. And even that, yeah, for me, I in isolation, when they say stuff like, oh, I need there's a certain sort of player that we want and all of this. I agree with that in isolation. But then it flips its whole head when you're bidding 40 million allegedly for Ollie Watkins, because that doesn't correlate with what you're being told. So our issue is now you need to pivot. We are not Real Madrid. You can go all out for Zubamendi and Sesko and this one. We're not the only ones going for them. If Arteta can get them to sign, great. But don't tell me we tried. Make sure someone else signs, because we've had another year to kind of scout for positions that we needed a year or two earlier. For me, anyways.
Yeah, 100%. Like, if that summer window opens and there's no bids going in immediately, we're in trouble, because we just know how they are. If we need to sell to buy, if they're looking for targets,
There's clearly that remit.
If they're trying to hire a DOF, which they're already briefing us about Jason Ayto.
We're going to get into all of that before we wrap up.
Yeah, it's like, if they have to do any of that shit, it's done. Because we can't walk and chew at the same time. They can only do one deal at a time. Each deal takes 2 months. So it's
and we got new contracts to sort out as well. We got a lot to do, man. But I'm in going into the summer. Yeah, for me, it's seeing is believing, because everything that I heard last year is going to be said this year. If they address all the areas and the depth and a lot of things that I've heard Mikel Arteta say himself and us as fans, fair enough. You've gone about it and you've put the best foot forward. I don't want to hear about war chest and needing X factors and did we tried and this, that, and the other. And I think Boston's on the money, because allegedly Arteta wanted Sesko last summer. Edu offered him Muniz. They disagreed. No one got signed. That's what I mean by we need to pivot. Maybe Edu needs to find or needed to find better targets. Maybe Arteta needs to stop. I don't want to say he's a spoiled kid, but it's like it's either that or nothing. But that's what I mean. Just when surely, as much as they tell us collaboration, it was too many chefs spoiling the meal, really.
Yeah, and I think people were trying to say that when Edu left, it was just because he wanted a better job, but nobody can be that naive. He dumped us off it wasn't even midway through the season. Left us high and dry in the midst of trying to find a new coach for the women, and also ahead of the January transfer window. Clearly, they didn't see eye to eye, and Arteta won in the end. And my biggest concern is Mikel has very specific players that he likes that end up being incredibly expensive, because he likes expensive players. But you have guys like Tim Lewis that are looking at the bottom line. If Arteta's hard-headed and he won't take anything other than his main choice, and the club are tight with the purse strings, we won't get anybody. And so I would love to see a list of, like, we'll never see it, but what Arteta wanted and what Edu offered, because I bet
to be fair, didn't Edu get us Odegaard? I know people are onto him now, but
Edu got us Odegaard, but he also was the driving force behind Partey and Gabriel, which I think I said that on the show the last time. He wanted more physical players, and so we ended up with that, which was great. But I do think Arteta is really driving the Zubamendi instead of, like, whatever. I'm sure Edu had his choice, and he wanted, Arteta wants Zubamendi, so we're just staying on Zubamendi. He wants Nico Williams, so we're just staying on Nico Williams. That's so problematic. There needs to be somebody else in the room that, one, knows how to operate quickly and can identify talent and get Arteta things that are similar, but that still have a lot of talent. And we just seem not to be able to find whatever that talent gap is. We can't find it. Because
too much unique stuff.
Yeah, Nico Williams is a good player, but he's not so unique that you couldn't grab someone else. You know what I mean?
To be in a situation like, and again, I do think there's a lot of weight in this, but I think it's one where if people keep reading these comments, it sounds like it makes sense. It's actually not on. Like, it's actually not on. Look at, obviously injuries have exaggerated the situation, but we were saying this when everyone was fit. Are we really that good of a side? Are we a prime Barcelona, Arsenal, Chelsea side that nobody, Nico Williams, this one, that one, nobody could come in? Our options are a past it Raheem Sterling. Big up Ethan, but he's a young G and it's way too much to put on a man's shoulders. Kai Havertz, who's 12th for goals in the Premier League, which you're doing all you can, Kai. I'm not even getting at you. It's how it's assembled. No Bukayo Saka. Really, it doesn't make sense. And this is why I feel we'll never know, but people got to have common sense, man. And it kind of brings us on to this just as we wrap up. What do you make of this? Sammy Mokbel has said there is a sense at Arsenal that they're gearing up for an unprecedented summer. Unprecedented.
Well,
choice word.
Listen, after we got knocked out by Bayern, they said we were looking at Isak and Olise, and we ended up with Raheem.
You're being kind. They were looking at players with X factor. Sterling.
Yeah, I'm just like, I already know this is bullshit.
No, he's 12th for goal. He's 12th in the list. He doesn't. I didn't say he had 12 goals, but yeah, go on.
And the fact that we don't have a player in the top 10 for goals ever in like the last 2 seasons is wild. But
Saka went there.
I don't think Saka was there last season. If he was the only one. And yeah,
probably is.
But yeah, this is bullshit. This kind of stuff comes out every time that we go out, and they want to keep us, like, they corral us and make us feel better about shit. But I guarantee the summer starts off with needing to sell. And if we need to sell before it even starts, you might as well just go on your vacations and pack it up, you know, because it's not going to be good. But unprecedented, and even if they do get all their targets, because like the attainable ones, let's say they get Nico Williams and Sesko, we're never getting Isak and Dubamindi. Is that really unprecedented? Let's be honest.
For us, 100%. But I would say fair enough. I'd like to think I'm a fair man. I would say fair enough. Now there's zero to no excuses. But then, as you know, fans want to be accountants. People are going to be like, oh, Havertz is on 200 odd grand. And what are we going to hear? Even if you want all of them guys, what did we hear in January? Oh, Gabriel Jesus, he's on the wage bill. If you got Sesko in the summer, you would have had Kai Havertz, Sesko, and Gabriel Jesus on the wage bill. So it sounds good. But if you actually think, and again, we can't always be right, but if you actually think, it's not making sense. But the thing is, the majority of people are sheep. They're not critical thinkers. What do you make of this? With supporters desperate for a signing, interim sporting director Jason Ayto could easily have made himself an instant hero by sanctioning moves for either Matthias Tell or Morata. But talk to those whose opinions matter at Arsenal, which is a bit shady from Sammy Mokbel. They'll tell you Ayto's considered approach has impressed and is one that's aligned with the club's long-term strategy. Ayto is understood to have improved his standing among those behind the scenes at the Emirates since his internal appointment. What do you make of that? Because for me, that just tells me you're singing from the same hymn sheet. But what do you make of him? What do you make of that? And what do you make of, in theory, if we could have got a Tell or Morata, would you have gone for that? Especially Morata.
I mean, he is definitely setting himself up for a fat paycheck, you know, because he is pivoting from like a video analyst and then Edu's number 2 to the sporting director at Arsenal Football Club. So, of course, he's going to sing from the same hymn sheet. Of course, he's going to keep the powder dry. The only 2 options he could come up with was not getting Tell and not getting Morata, but holding talks with Juan Garcia. The long-term thought process for the Cronkies is to maintain top 4.
Stack notes and act broke, man.
Yeah, and be self-sustaining. And so he's done that, basically. He's made sure that they kept whatever powder dry and done fuck all in that whole January window. So whatever. But in terms of Morata and Tell, when those are your only 2 options, again, I would have taken Tell just because he's a talented young player. And if they're like Spurs has the opportunity to buy him in the summer, and I would have liked to have, you know, somebody like that, you know, in the team that can play across the front 3 that's extremely talented that you can get for like 50, 60 million in the summer. That would be interesting to me more than Morata. But we didn't get him and we did nothing. You know, and it should never get to that. Morata or Tell, because these are options that you can't even.
Would you have taken Morata in January for real?
No, I would have paid the extra 20 million for Ollie
No,
Watkins.
I would ask you that.
No,
Morata is the only thing
no,
we can do. You're not
no,
having it.
no, I
God
wouldn't.
forgive me. I'm doing that. Like if I would have done it just to tie us to the end of the season because we ain't got nothing else. I am not trying to gas up Morata. Once I believed in him, now I don't. But we're down to our bare bones. Like Kai is struggling both in terms of the football and the injuries. We've now lost Martinelli. Jesus is gone. Saka, they're doing the stuff about him going to be back. You wouldn't have taken Morata. He might be dead. He might be dead food, as somebody said. But really,
He's
really,
gonna score even less goals for us than he's scoring for.
we need a body, man.
Yeah, if there was a body, I would have preferred it to be at least a young player with upside.
Yeah, no, I hear that, and you're right. I'm just asking you, Morata. It's Morata or nothing. Morata on loan. Are you doing that in Jan?
No.
You wouldn't have taken like a risk-free. It's always a risk with Morata, but a loan. And I am not trying to endorse Morata. And we were at this stage now, Jess. We know we're at this stage, and it shouldn't be a question. But would you have taken him on loan?
You still have to have some standards, though. Like, let's be honest.
You know what? Sometimes you can't have shame. You're not in a position to have shame. It's like if you're, big up everyone that's stressing over jobs and whatnot, and a job's a job. We're not job shaming. But let's just say I'm trying to get a job. I've got bills, there's pressure, there's this and that. In my opinion, you've got to do anything to get paid. If you could get an office job, working McDonald's, clean toilets, you can't afford to have pride, quote unquote. I'm on it. I can't lie to you. I'm on it. I know it's 2025. I know it sounds mad. I'm on it for 6 months. I'm down for it. It's going to be horrible. Kai Havertz, Morata, they're going to make me pull my hair out. But I'm on it. I'm therefore on that. I can't lie to you. Beggars can't be choosers, bro. It's peak. It should never get there. Me, I personally ain't got no names, Jess. But for me, if you can bid 40 million for Ollie Watkins and that's not enough, that tells me you've got 40 million to play around with and at least get a project player. Cool. We can pivot from the striker to the winger. Even the whole logic around the striker in that. Again, I'm no expert, but I thought going into this market, you need an inside forward. You can maneuver with Kai Havertz. Then obviously Jesus' injury. The talk is around the striker. It starts getting mad, man. It really does. Like we are doing madness. And what do you make of this? Somebody said something. Where's the? Oh, I can't find it. Somebody said something about Sesko and Kai Havertz, and I'm not even trying to make it about them. But Sesko, everyone will be gassing it. I have to ask you about Zubamendi. Couple more things before we head over to her platform. People, make sure you follow us over there. Martin Zubamendi looks certain to arrive from Real Sociedad as Arsenal prepare for the expected midfield departures of Jorginho and Partey. They will explore a move for a versatile attacker too with Nico Williams and Cunha. Apparently, Cunha's actually got a 60-odd million release clause, and apparently it's no secret the dream ticket is Isak, given the cost believed to be in excess of 100 million. A successful swoop appears plausible, but at the very least, Arsenal exploits validity. There's a lot of money that's a lot of money and a lot of wages. This sounds like a fallacy, but where are you at?
Well, yeah, it says Isak is implausible. So I think he's saying it cannot be done. Right?
That's 60-odd million quid as well for Cunha.
So the Zubamendi thing, it is what it is. If this was 2 years ago, I'd be a lot more excited about it. In 2025,
might not even get him. Real Madrid are onto him apparently.
Well, it is what that would be hilarious to me. I'm not even gonna lie. Like you briefed it to make people happy, and then you don't even get him. That's so Arsenal. But the Cunha versus Nico Williams thing. If it's 60 million. And you asked me if it's either one. In the summer, I'd probably go for Cunha
over Nico Williams,
provided we still get a striker. Because I don't view Cunha as an out-and-out striker. We still need that. We just need one player that we can look at that says you bring goals. Cunha brings goals, but he also brings all-around shit. And we need to no matter even if Jesus is on the wage bill, he's going to be out for a long ass time. So
respectfully, he's irrelevant because he's got an ACL issue. Exactly. It's at where you're at. And half of these players are going to be off the wage bill. The Teams, the Jorginhos, the Parteys, the Zinchenko's. Yep. But there's no excuses, man.
Exactly. So we should just replace him anyway, regardless, because that you still need to replace him. Stop it.
All right, big up the dog. See, the dog's not listening to your comments around Cunha over Nico Williams, man.
So, but I do think that Cunha would be a better signing than Williams at this stage, but I guess.
But you was heavy on the Nico Williams propaganda. Like, what was changed?
Yeah, I mean, I like him, but if I have to choose between the two of them, I'd choose Cunha.
You don't think Nico Williams more addresses our immediate need, being devil's advocate?
I would
Because
potentially.
go on.
Well, our immediate need is actually goals. And he actually doesn't solve that. He solves the need for a more creative winger, somebody like, unlike Martinelli, who has a little bit more of like that versatility to his game, somebody that can create a little bit and beat his man and stuff like that. But the immediate problem, I feel like, is actually goals. He doesn't solve that like at all. So when I look at our summer window, we won't get it, but we actually need to replace Gabriel Jesus and get a striker and get a winger.
See, it's mad when we have to replace players that shouldn't even need replacing. Yeah. But like, as dumb as it sounds, like you really reckon Cunha, like for me, I always think I'm having Cunha. He's Premier League proven. And he can obviously, I don't want to see him play up front, but can play up front, can play in Odegaard's role, definitely with the Odegaard we're seeing right now. And obviously can play off the left. But you don't feel like it's another versatile player that can play everywhere, at least with Nico Williams. And I'm purely being devil's advocate. That is an out-and-out left winger. Whether he's going to be good or not, that man is going to play off the left.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear that. If I had to choose just based on what I think is going to happen in the window, though, Cunha is looking a lot more interesting to me than Nico Williams if we can only get two attackers. But I totally hear what you're saying. And it also depends on the, if he has the release clauses are quite similar and one is like 50 and the other one is 60. At that stage, too, you're talking about 10 more million for a player that's probably just a little bit more ready to like make a real impact. Like Nico Williams can make an impact, but I don't know.
And Arteta seemed to have wanted him. And do you know what? It's weird, yeah, because obviously we hear 1 minute Sesko's release clause has been moved and then it's not yet. But it seems like, obviously we've signed players without a release clause, but Sesko, allegedly, there's a gentleman's agreement or a release clause. Cunha, there's a release clause. Who's the other one? Zubimendi, there's a release clause. So it's like, if you sweep them up, gas them to sign for you, look, watch the pennies. It is what it is. But then all good players are in high demand. Like, we're not going to have a free run at Sesko. We didn't have a free run last year. It seemed like he was on joining us ahead of United and Chelsea, but it makes you question like what we're actually doing. Of course, nobody knows. And finally, go on.
If there's competition, we will struggle. That's the truth.
This is an absolute madness. Cunha's wages are definitely lower. Well, I'm not pocket watching, but we all know Nico Williams is on some big bad paper, and that's why I'm a bit pessimistic on either Cunha or Nico Williams. Sesko, what's the other one? Zubimendi. Zubimendi's not going to be the highest wage earner, but you're going to have them two coming on decent money. You've still got Jesus. You've still got Kai Havertz. You've still got Declan Rice and all of these guys. You're still going to have to find money to renew the deals of definitely Bukayo Saka, William Saliba, and Gabriel Magalhaes. I suppose Martinelli the same. Of course, you could say if you get rid of Nelson, Tierney's on 100k, he's gone. Who else is there? Partey, all of them. There's a lot to do, as just said earlier. Like, it's a bit mad. My final one for you. We've been linked with another name, which is a bit weird because he's an Argentine playing in Italy for an Italian club. Reports have come out of Spain. Arsenal are believed to be lining up a bid in the region of 100 million for Inter Milan striker Lautaro Martinez.
Oh, Lord, Jesus. Yeah.
We need your thoughts, man. We need your thoughts. You're the guest here. They don't want to hear my thoughts.
If we go and drop 100 million on Lautaro Martinez, which I'm so glad that's a bad source anyway, what the fuck are we doing?
You wouldn't have him. If there's no Gyökeres, there's no Sesko, Isak's a myth. We got 100 million. The club are committed to Lautaro Martinez. Are you pressing the red button?
I mean, if there's nothing else, yeah. But it shouldn't be nothing else. Like, we should be going into the summer window with so many options available to us. If we end up overspending on Lautaro Martinez, I mean, just shut the doors, close the doors, like pack it up, flat screen. Like, it's get it, just everybody go. Like, there's just no reason. But
I'm at the point, fuck it, man. Let's just do it now, man. Like, we just fuck it. It's not my bread.
I hear you.
Man said lost faith in deluded after this. What the hell did I do? Like, okay, you lost faith in me. Okay, great. What did I do?
You didn't even do anything.
What the hell did I do? All right, cool. You know what? Like, lose faith in the guy, man. You know what? They love you, then they hate you, then they love you again. Before we get out of it, I know I've been saying this bare and we're running it late, yeah. Devil's advocate. Could we now have an advantage where the Prem and the champs are, because we're out of all the trophies now? There's one game a week. We're going to Dubai. Can we win one of these major honors? Is this a boost? I have to be one of them, man. I can see the look you're giving me, but I have to be one of them, man. I have to. People want to know.
Fish to fry is 2025 is insane. I mean, if we were in a good period and we had all the things that we needed and we just went out of the Carabao Cup to a good side, and we did go out to a good side, but we had actually played well and stuff like that. They just beat us. Then I could look at that half glass full thing. But the reality is, if you can't beat Newcastle and Aston Villa, then you're not going to be able to beat teams in the Champions League once we get to those knockout rounds. You're not beating any Barcelonas or Real Madrids or Bayerns or any of those. We struggle with Porto.
Some say we've got more of it. Some people said, obviously, before this City game and this week, based on how it's gone, that we've got more of a chance in the champs than the Prem.
Well, we have more chance in Champions League than in the Premier League right now because the reason why you can say it is because we haven't had an embarrassing result in the Champions League yet. It's like the unknown. You can just, like, people before the season started says, I think it's our year for the Prem. I think it's our year, because nothing had started.
Bring on Madrid and all of that.
So people are only saying that because they know that the Premier League is gone. So yeah, then the Champions League, because idealistically, we're not the type of team that even if we get on that easier side of the bracket, we won't shit the bed against a shitty side. We just don't have what it takes in games where you have to do or die. And until we show that, it doesn't matter what we're trying to win. We won't win it. We won't win it.
And that's where I'm at as well, Jess. It's like, for me, I still think the Prem, I'm still of that thought, like, you've got to bully your own league before you go abroad. I think the margin, this ain't me saying we're going to win the Prem. I just think there's slightly more margin and more opportunities in the Prem than the champs. You have to be perfect. And I don't know who we're going to get in the latter stages. And I'm also we played Newcastle in our place, but I'm kind of shook of whoever we're going to play away from home in the champs. I just feel, because there's going to be a moment where the pressure is off. Maybe the footballing gods just shine a light on us. We win at Anfield. We win at St. Mary's. Liverpool, Moyes does us a favor. I don't believe this, but I can see more causes for optimism than the champs. The champs, I don't think there's a hiding place, and there's still some big boys in there. So, boy, it is what it is, man.
Away from home at Lens. These boys were shook away from home at Lens. Like, if we have to go away to the Italian side, yeah, we have a chance to play two. Like, people, Juventus and AC Milan are not good sides right now. They said that
about Bayern. What happened? It's still Bayern. It's still Inter. Like, and again, not to diss Mikel Arteta, but if somebody, because you mentioned Inter, it's Simeone and Inzaghi, in which Arteta, you did very well against them. We got a dodgy penalty. When it's not working, whatever we're doing, the gaffer, unfortunately, isn't going to switch things up. He will switch things up. Gasperini will fix things up. The less said about Real Madrid, the better. Barcelona are not Barcelona, but if they make it an open gunfight, which Hansi Flick seems to do, oof. And there's no Bukayo Saka. Yeah, he might be fit. And I love Ethan and I love Lewis Kelly, and I have no doubt that they'll be two of the better players, but it'll be mad. Somebody in the comments said, if Arteta won the Champions League, give the man a statue. I'm a fair man, give the man a statue, but it's looking like a trophyless one. But on that note, though, we're overrunning. The good news is we're heading over to Jess's platform. If they don't know where they can find you, let them know, man.
Yeah, just she knows Arsenal in the search bar, and also it's in the title. You can just click it, and we'll be live in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to waffle about Arsenal again. So if you're not done with your Arsenal therapy sessions, find us over there, people. Hit the like button, subscribe to the platforms. We're out, but we're not out, but we're out. Peace.
Bye.